All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Polzin with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the Week 17 core plays, going position by position, highlighting the top plays for you guys on the slate. Hopefully you guys had a great Merry Christmas as well and a Happy New Year. That is why this video is coming out like a day later than it typically was. You know, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do on the holidays. So if you guys enjoy the coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into the top quarterbacks on this slate. So to me, I think the starting point is going to be looking at Jared Goff, just at a very cheap price tag going against the Chicago Bears, and it's going to be at Detroit. Obviously, that's going to be in the stadium. That is going to be highly appealing to me. I love the fact that we are going to be locking in at least like 37 passing attempts going against the Bears, a defense that has very much struggled. I think Jared Goff just makes a ton of sense. A very cheap price tag as well. He is someone that we can see going for, 20 to 25 DK points with the upside to go for more than that. Obviously went for 29 the last 2 out of the last 3 slates. So that is going to be appealing. He has a decently high floor as well. I mean, 14 points against the Jets and 17 against Buffalo. Like, that is pretty darn good. We would certainly take that. So I love the recent production from Jared Goff. He is someone that just makes a ton of sense, someone that you should be going out of your way to play on this slate. And then just 2 other plays I think we can consider at the quarterback position is going to be Justin Fields. Obviously, Justin Fields has been extremely consistent up until that last game against Buffalo. I would blame a lot of that just on poor weather. Had 7 rushing attempts still, but really not going to be able to do much in a game like that. I'm not too worried about it. The price point is going to be what I'm worried about. This is a very high price tag, and if he has some of that disappoints, then we can't really take that. So I would much rather go with Jared Goff in that same game, but at the same time, Justin Fields could easily go off. Went for 43 DK points against them the last time out. This defense still is not great, so Justin Fields could easily still go off. And then strangely enough, I don't mind Brock Purdy. He has been a consistent fantasy producer, but if I'm playing Purdy, then I might as well just go ahead and play Goff. Fine price point play. Maybe you throw him out there in some GPP stacks. Wilson would be someone that maybe in stacks you could play as well, but like not corp. Okay, you're really looking at Goff or really Justin. I think that's really much it. That's pretty much it. So last week we saw the slate be a very RB heavy slate. Like there's a ton of great running back plays. Okay. And I think that's going to be the exact same situation again on this slate. Like CMC, you can certainly pay up for. Gets a great matchup going against the Las Vegas Raiders. Still play a lot of snaps. Just didn't get that many receptions. Did kind of bail a lot of people out, including myself, with that touchdown late in that game against Washington. But much better matchup. Should be a good play. Saquon Barkley, though, once again, going to be a very tough play to pass up on. Okay. He looked good again last week. I had mentioned up until that game against Washington, it seemed like he had somewhat like lost a step throughout the season, like a slight step. And then it just randomly popped back. Like he had that full burst that he had at the beginning of the season and looked really good. Obviously 10 targets, 8 receptions. That's really going to boost the floor, but he was highly productive. Now gets a still pretty good matchup going against Indy, a team that really just looks like they have given up on their season. And so I kind of expect Saquon Barkley to be able to go out and really have a great game. I think we can project him accurately to get around 20 opportunities and still get over 80% of the snaps. Saquon at 8K is a very kind of cheap price tag, kind of given the matchup and given the situation. I think we should be taking advantage of that. From there, like James Conner going to be very difficult not to love as well. As you guys know, if you guys have watched these videos, I think it's been since the Chargers game that I have been on James Conner, even though the matchups haven't exactly been great. Why? Because of the snap counts and the opportunities. Okay, playing in 90% of the snaps, that is tough not to love, especially given that the price point hasn't correctly adjusted to it. Tough not to love him. And on top of that, he is getting over 20 opportunities per game. And on top of that, this week, finally gets a great matchup. And now watch, this will be the matchup in which he only scores around like 12 DK points. But we know it's going to be the correct play. Given the matchup, given the amount of snaps, and given the amount of opportunities, it's tough not to love James Conner on this slate. Dropping down a little bit lower, I love the fact that Ramondre Stevenson played a lot of snaps and he kind of struggled for... Well, I love the fact of that for this. Obviously, last week that was not great, but he still played 90% of the snaps, okay? Still was heavily involved. 6 targets, 13 rushing attempts. Okay, that is great. Did fumble twice and kind of cost them. That would be the worries that maybe he doesn't get all those carries. That would be my biggest worry, my biggest concern. Okay, but gets a matchup with Miami, gets a price decrease. And if he is going to be playing about 90% of the snaps and still getting around 20 opportunities, it is still a play that we would love. Maybe we can't lock him into a cash play. Okay, maybe we can't do that. But GPP wise, it's definitely someone you should be going out of your way to play because it wouldn't be shocking to see him get 20 total DK points once again. I still think James Conner and then maybe Stevenson is who you'd be looking at. But at the same time, we get Travis Etienne in a great spot. Now, the biggest worry with Travis Etienne, only playing about 70% of the snaps. But when he is in, he's heavily involved in the game plan. Okay. 2 straight games of over 20 opportunities, and he scored 14.2 and 16.7, both against more difficult matchups. Now he gets a great matchup going against Houston, a matchup that, on just 18 total opportunities was able to get 14.4 DK points. I would say we can easily project him to get double-digit DK points, and I don't really know what we can project his ceiling to be. It could really be extremely high. So Travis Etienne firmly in play, but also Cam Akers gets a great matchup going against the Chargers. Okay, Cam Akers obviously just went off in the previous game, 3 touchdowns. And I think now, after last week, we can accurately project him to get the workhorse treatment. Up until last week, I was still kind of worried about it. Now it's been 3 straight weeks where he's gotten over 75% of the touches. I think we can accurately project that once again. Good matchup against the Chargers, and the Chargers have already secured their playoff spots. So, they're going to be trying to play well, but at the same time, it wouldn't be shocking to see them maybe not be as mentally sharp fully. But given the price point, given the recent production, and given the amount of snaps, Cam Akers does make a lot of sense, especially given this matchup. He is someone that we'll be looking at as well. But really, that's it. Barkley, Connor, Stevenson, Etienne, and also Akers are the running backs I'll be looking at. So for the receivers, I'm going to be calling it stick to the basics. Okay, lather, rinse, repeat, guys. I see no real reason why we should not be playing Keenan Allen on the slate, even with the matchup against Los Angeles. Guys, it's simple. What are my 2 rules? If Keenan Allen's on a slate, I'm playing Keenan Allen. And my second rule, if Chris Godwin's on a slate, I'm playing him. That's basically been my rule for the last year and a half, especially for Keenan Allen the last 2 years. If they're on a slate, I'm playing them. They are just so highly consistent and so underpriced on every slate, given their consistency. It is crazy. These 2 players are playing 90% of the snaps, averaging over 10 targets per game, and averaging, 15 to 20 DK points per game. It is tough not to like them, especially given their high consistency. And maybe that floor will eventually fall out. But at the same time, I'm fine with that if that happens one week, because we know they're the correct play. And they both get a matchup in which you're not particularly worried about. We should be getting a nice, safe floor by playing those 2, okay? It's just the route that I want to go. I want to be chasing nice floors and soft price points, given their production. So those 2 players just make a ton of sense. Chris Godwin and Keenan Allen. And then from there, we got to see the injury news for the Green Bay Packers. Okay, Christian Watson left last game and he was still able to hit value, almost had another touchdown, 8 targets, still scored 10.9 DK points on limited snaps, didn't play the whole second half, was well on his way to a great game. We got to wait and see the news on him. If he plays, going to be a great play because he's probably still going to play about 80 to 90% of the snaps. If he sits, though, I think Lazard's going to be in play, but I also really like Romeo Doubs, who Dobbs ended up playing 60% of the snaps. Okay, and he has looked good. Okay, did have a bad drop and whatnot, but going against Minnesota, that'd be a highly intriguing matchup. We do got to see what the weather situation is going to be like, but Dobbs could easily go off. And at 4.7, if he's going to be the receiver number 1B, I guess I don't want to disrespect Lazard like that because he is solid, but if he's going to be the 1B, he would be a great play given that price point. But if Christian Watson plays at 5.9, man, it's going to be tough not to love him, especially going against Minnesota. Okay, so we kind of got to wait and see on the injury news, but definitely someone that I like. And then part of sticking to the basics is going to be looking at Courtland Sutton. Now, yes, it has been Jerry Jeudy as kind of the stud lately, which is honestly a little bit shocking to me. Has looked much better the last, 3 games. Something I didn't see coming. He's been a solid NFL receiver, but it did seem like he kind of took a next step. Still, Courtland Sutton at 5.1 is highly intriguing. Okay, in his first game back from injury, played in 70% of the snaps, saw 7 targets, and was able to score 11.4 DK points. Going against KC, which could be a higher scoring game. Obviously, the defense is a defense that you want to be attacking. Courtland Sutton does make a lot of sense at 5.1. It wouldn't be shocking to see him go out and have a great game. Then I already mentioned how I do want to be attacking that Chicago Bears kind of Detroit game a little bit with the quarterbacks. Well, if we're doing that, I do think we could say that one of the receivers for Chicago would be a good play. And I have kind of been leaning towards Byron Pringle. He's been an okay value play really the last 2 weeks, given the amount of snaps that he's been playing. 90% 2 weeks ago against Philly, and then 86% of the snaps last week. Obviously, last week was a game in which the Bears struggled. They did offensively. They were just bad. But this week, going against Detroit, which should be a higher scoring game, I think Pringle could be in play. If he is going to be playing about 90% of the snaps, maybe he gets 4 targets in this one and gets 8 DK points. Right now, he's looking like he could be a very good price point play. We got to wait on news for Chase Claypool and Sam Brown, because if they play, then probably not as good of a play. By that same token, Pettis would be an okay play as well. Scored a touchdown on a wide open play. That was a little bit lucky, but he did play in a lot of snaps. So if those two are still up, Pettis could be someone you're looking at as well. More of a play for the value plays video. So on last week's slate, I felt like the biggest difference maker and probably the easiest part of last week was looking at the tight end position. Just a lot of cheap price points and some good matchups on each slate that it was kind of easier to figure out which tight ends you should be playing. Okay, now, given the price tag and given the production from some of these guys, it's a little bit worrisome. I will say Travis Kelce is still most likely going to be under-owned and undervalued. The guy has been super consistent, always ranks out as one of the best leverage plays on each slate. So you could definitely be looking at Travis Kelce. I like him as a play. I think he's fine as a play. George Kittle with Deebo Samuel out has kind of been the go-to guy. Purdy has liked him. A couple of them have been design plays, that were designed to be big plays, but they went to Kittle. Those are sometimes plays that would go to Deebo, something to take into consideration. TJ Hawkinson, 16 he really gave us some good sweats last week in some great lineups, and even like game stack wise, if you guys watched the coverage, like being on TJ Hawkinson was huge last week. Do I project him to do anything like he did last week? Even like this, since he's joined the Vikings, maybe not. Like I could see this being like the exact opposite game, like one of his worst games. At the same time, still going to be playing a lot of snaps, still going to get a decent amount of targets. Like the reasons why we liked him last week are still there. I just don't like the price bump. So I think even more so, this week might be a week in which we are trying to pay down. Okay. Tyler Higbee was a player that, on that slate as well. I think it was a 3-game slate with someone else saying, go out of your way to play. Like he's kind of just the obvious tight end play on this slate. If you can afford to pay up for him, do it. Kind of the same thing as well. Like given the price tag, I still think he's someone that you do want to play, but I hate that he got that big of a price tag, and I hate that he went off that much. Okay. With how banged up they are and with how many snaps he's playing, about 70 to 90% of snaps. Obviously that game was a blowout, but probably going to play about 85% of the snaps if it's a close game. Still should get targeted a lot. Like him going off was not really that shocking. How much he went off by was a little bit shocking, but can we go back to him? That's the biggest question. I don't know. I've kind of found myself trying to pay down at tight end, and who does that lead me to? Well, Noah Fant's an okay play. It was funny because by the end of the week last week, I was like, oh, Will Dissly might be a great play because Noah Fant's questionable. Well, Will Dissly's now in the IR, which means Noah Fant could be looking at 85% of the snaps or so. He would be a decent play, especially going against the Jets where that's kind of their weakness. Like I don't mind him as a play. I don't know if we need to go out of our way to play him. Okay. So who do I like? Well, Daniel Bellinger should still be a safe play. Dude's playing so many snaps, like 90% of the snaps. Okay. Should still be a safe play. Cade Otton, playing a decent amount of snaps as well. Did get 7 targets. Obviously that offense did not look good last week. Someone you could play, but I think kind of the obvious play to me would be if Granson is out. I guess this is a big if, but if he's out again, you'd be looking at Jelani Wood. Okay, ended up playing about 64% of the snaps last week, which is what he played the last time Granson was out. So we could get a guy that's going to play about, let's just say over 60% of snaps and probably going to get at least 5 targets, at least 5 DK points. Like we would certainly take that. It's like playing Mitchell Wilcox last week where the price point's so cheap and we know we're not going to get a 0, although slight scare, he got injured. That was a little bit of a worry, but should be a great play, given the price point. Kind of opens up a lot lineup process wise. And you guys know my strategy by now. Like Bears D was like 5% owned. Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? It was a poor weather game. Okay, and they ended up scoring 3 DK points, which I know wasn't great, but 2 YNTs got positive points. Like, they were the minimum price. Like, it's just frustrating, honestly, at this point. And, like, Jahan Dotson was under-owned, too. That was a little bit frustrating to me as well. But I guess for this, it's like, who do you play? Philly or Saints or Broncos? I guess for now, Broncos, maybe even Green Bay. For now, we'll go Saints. Cheapest price defense. And then we have 5.3 left over. So who does that leave us on? Like, GPP-wise, I don't mind Tyler Algier, been looking great. The last 2 weeks obviously really went off. Played in his most snaps last week. I'm fine with him. Brian Robinson continues to get a lot of work. Like you could look at him, but none of these guys right here are really core plays. Like if I still had Cortland Sutton, I'd be fine going with Cortland Sutton. Jacoby Myers, I don't hate. Jacoby Myers played in 100% of the snaps, had 7 targets. I'd be fine with, more of like just a cash play to me. I don't know if he's like a need to go out of your way to play him in all your builds, but still going to be a good play. Given the matchup, given the price point, given the targets, given the snaps, like he does make a lot of sense. So this is kind of what I'm looking at for a first look build. Now in this situation, this is where I'd be fine paying up a little bit more for a defense. Maybe in this specific situation, go Caroline. Okay, I'm fine. Don't mind that at all. But that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Give a like and subscribe. That helps me continue to put out more content for you guys. Let's finish this season strong. Let's have a good weekend as always. Let's keep cashing.